Can't tell if those lines are supposed to be teeth or if they're just kind of like exclamation marks, like, it's a bite.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Good, good, we're all good, excellent, good to hear. So today I have something very special. Last fall, so like last October, I had a very cool experience. Sophia and Tyler were invited by Colonial Williamsburg to come and visit. Sophia and I got connected and we decided to kind of meet up. What I wanted to do with Sophia is kind of give her this experience that not a lot of people get, which is to be able to go into the collections of Colonial Williamsburg. I interned at collections back when I was an undergrad, and the current associate curator of costume and textiles, Neil Hurst, and I have known each other for, God, I think it's like 15 years at this point, Neil. Ooh. So I reached out to Neil and I asked Sophia if she was interested, and she was like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. And Neil was like, cool, sounds great. Now, originally I didn't really care about if there was a video or not. I just wanted to be able to kind of give her this experience, to kind of show her this world of dress history that exists.
I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid.
But the fact that Colonial Williamsburg was open to it and that we got permission to film is huge. Like, I don't think this has ever really happened before. I'm super excited to share with you all what you're about to see, and I'm rambling a lot. I'm sure you guys are like, Abby, we don't care, get to the good shit. I'm like, you know what, you're right, I'm rambling too much. I had Neil pull out some of my favorite pieces at the Colonial Williamsburg collection to show Sophia, and pieces that I thought Sophia would also really enjoy. And I think you guys will enjoy them too. Now, we're not gonna be able to go super in depth with the pieces that we looked at because we looked at a lot. So if you are watching this video and you are like, I wanna see more of this, my plan is to actually kind of have my editor roughly edit the collection content and then put that up on my Patreon as well as my YouTube memberships at the $10 tier, because that's kind of like my antique clothing tier. If you are not a member or a patron, you can go ahead and check it out.
Take a look?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So the first thing that we actually looked at was my favorite gown of all time ever in any collection, period. This thing is the coolest gown that I can't even describe it to you guys. It's badass. Here it is.
This gown did have a matching petticoat, which we do have the fragment from, but this gown was actually an earlier gown that was then remade in the late 1770s, 1780s. And they probably used portions of that petticoat for the remaking of it. So it was really common to recycle these textiles because of the expense of them in the period.
We think, Neil, this was earlier, what, 1760s or so with that front, but then it was obviously updated in the 70s.
Right, because it's now center front closing.
Yeah, and like these cuffs are like super like 76 to like 78.
I love when you guys say the 70s, the 1770s, I mean.
Sorry, let's clarify.
Back in the 70s.
Hair flip. Like back in the day, it was fine, you know, it was no problem. This is interesting because it looks like they actually did like a spaced back stitch on the inside of this one. So they still did it where they fit the lining pieces, and then they stitched the lining pieces down using a spaced back stitch, and then they brought the outer fabric back over and then stitched that down, and that's what you're seeing there. There's been a lot of discussion about how 18th century gowns were put together, and there's a few different ways you can do it, but this kind of fitting point here of this side back seam, I don't know if you noticed on our gowns, like when walking around, or if you had a chance to actually look at what you were wearing, but we have those seams kind of back there. Yeah. So that's actually the main fit point for women's bodices. A lot of work is done here with the linings to make sure that it's really fitted to your back, and then you can always make adjustments here, because if you're like me and you're packing a lot of heat, usually things are not are not straight and they're very curvy. And so you have that kind of curve actually going into the center front of the gown. Before we continue though, I do think it's a really good time to talk about the sponsor of this week's video. You all are familiar with them. They are an excellent sponsor to this channel, HelloFresh. The reason I love HelloFresh is that they just make my life so much easier. I can pick out my meals for the week. They come pre-portioned, pre-packaged, all put together, all nice and neat. I can pick according to my dietary wants and needs, and also just my schedule too. So like if I know that I have a busy week coming up, they offer something called Quick and Easy, which is just like super simple, 20 minutes in and out. It's also super sustainable because you're not wasting food. I know I'm really bad about that after cleaning out my pantry and my fridge. Your girl has a problem. Being able to know that I'm not wasting produce, that I'm not wasting food is great. Also, like whenever they have like the Israeli couscous, I am a slut for some Israeli couscous, guys. Ooh, with the garlic. okay, so the deal that they have going on right now is that if you use the code Abby16, you're going to get 16 free meals, which is a steal of a deal, and 3 free gifts, right? Oh, they're surprise. They're surprise gifts. I don't know what they are, but they're surprises. And personally, I love a good surprise. Again, just go to HelloFresh.com, use my code Abby16. You'll get 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts when you sign up for HelloFresh. And with that, thanks again to HelloFresh for sponsoring this week's video and for being such a great sponsor of my channel. I freaking love you guys. You see a lot of this kind of polychrome, like silk embroidery with flowers and the fringe trim and like all of this, but it's usually on like a white or a cream or like kind of goldy, like paler colors or pink. But to see this vibrancy like on a black silk satin gown,
Yeah.
it's really unusual.
Very unusual for a black English gown that's not for mourning, for mourning and death of an individual.
Yeah, this is not a funeral gown, unless you were super happy about
Yeah, you're
it.
just like,
It's like my husband died. Oh my God, who did that?
wealthy widowhood, here I come, baby.
Dollar bills, y'all.
In terms of like the embroidery, like what's the vibe here? Like what's the inspo? You know what I mean?
You have been summoned to the House of Vibes for your vibe check.
Well, there's certainly a variety of inspiration these folks are drawing from. There are pattern books that were published in the period, and like for printed materials, they would literally steal those images out of these books and then put them on printing cotton. And the same thing's happening for embroidery too. So I'm just noticing here that this was pieced and then embroidered.
Oh, nice.
So we now know that this gown was at least somewhat put together prior to it being embroidered.
That's so interesting because that looks the opposite.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so it may be.
Don't you think?
So that may be the case where they had a length of fabric that was embroidered and then it was cut apart. Obviously, you can see where the side seams are. But at least here in the gown skirts, there's sections, and there's a couple more over here where the embroidery is going over the seam. And so, at least in those areas, it appears that at least the skirt of the gown was embroidered after the skirt was assembled.
Do you think it could be like, add a few more here, add a few more there?
It could.
So after we looked at the gown, we wanted to look at some stays because I mean, let's not kid ourselves here, right? We all love some corsetry. We love a good bone. I'll be here forever until YouTube kicks me off or I stop making money on YouTube. And then I'll just disappear into oblivion. Okay, Neil, what do we have?
We got 3 pairs of stays here from our collection. We have, probably 1.5, 2 dozen pairs of stays in the collection here at Williamsburg. An American pair here, which is really interesting because this is still holding the shape of the woman who wore them, probably in the 1770s or so. Another pair here, which has very little wear to them, and they're made out of silk, so a pretty fine pair of stays.
Really thin boning.
Really thin boning as well, yeah. Over here on the far side, a pair that's a little bit later, probably going into the 1780s with some different boning types going, different structure to it versus the other 2 you see here. So
Is this baleen?
I'm pretty sure that all of these are baleen, if I
Okay,
remember
nice.
correctly.
No, one thing I didn't realize, like with Colonial Williamsburg's like clothing collection, Neil really surprised me with this, was just the variety of sizes and size representation that Colonial Williamsburg actually has and is documenting. So what's the measurements for this one? 'Cause
I don't have them off the top of my head, but all of these are sort of middle to even larger size, for our collection.
That looks
Yeah.
what we would wear. That's about
yeah, I was gonna say this looks
Normal size.
our size.
that
Yeah,
one.
and I will say
More
in our
than
collection we
24.
have a huge range in size of stays.
There's a big misconception that people were smaller back then. It's like no. No.
They really
So-
do come in all range and sizes.
Sophia asked probably the most important, obvious question that I don't think I've ever had anyone specifically like just brutally deliver it in such an efficient way. But Sophia, we gotta love her for asking the hard-hitting questions.
Neil, there doesn't have to be an answer because I don't know if there is an answer. But I've been asking people, why cone? Why be cone? Why do people in the
that
18th
shape?
century, want to be a cone?
For us, like as females, like if you think about it, we are cones. Like we're broader here and then we narrow down to the waist. And so when we're wearing skirts, the skirts are so full that the hips don't really, like, they're not taken really into consideration. But if you kind of just think about like our rough shape, it's like you're broad here and then you taper down. So in the 1500s, Henry VIII era, right? They're not wearing boned support garments yet. They're wearing kirtles and petticoats that have gummed linen buckram in it. And so layers of that with just like wool kind of cut in a rough fitted shape around the body. That's how they're getting the chest support and like the structure.
It's still smooth though.
It's still smooth.
Really smooth.
It's just not boned.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're not going to get really super complex curvy shapes out of that, like, because it's
You just can't.
Yeah.
So
It'd be like trying to make a super curvy thing out of cardboard. Like it just is really
not
hard
gonna
to
work.
do.
And-
So it's just kind of a very natural transition.
this was kind of embarrassing, honestly. Sophia, obviously, having never looked at original, like, super old antiques before, she got to experience the sweat excitement that comes with looking at old garments.
So these are our center front lacing. So
Yeah.
we're looking at the center back right now. So, and then the tabs, these guys here have been lined in leather. And you can see the multiple campaigns of patching and mending that's going on in there.
Very well loved. Very
Yeah.
These were
Yeah.
worn
And
quite a
the
bit.
nice like under boob sweat lines.
Yeah, like, these were worn.
Another pair that really holds their shape.
Does it have...
It's sweaty.
Nice and sweaty.
Yeah.
Okay, she doesn't have a rod in the center
I
of
love
this one,
seeing
though.
sweat stains.
So after the stays, we looked at one final piece that I wanted to pull out that was representational of men's clothing, because we never look at men's clothing here on this channel because I am not an expert in men's clothing. It is its own field of study. It is not my jam. But, your girl can appreciate a good waistcoat when she sees one. And this waistcoat, my friends, is my favorite thing of all time. This is actually one of my favorite things in the entire collection because it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
A bunch of really angry jaguars.
Cheetahs just biting each other in the ass.
Is this the continuation of Cheetah Guys?
Yes.
You could have this with your full like, leopard print coat and waistcoat and
I mean, it's like 1% like Gucci vibes.
Yeah.
I see it. I see it.
Yeah, so this is a waistcoat from probably about the 90s or so. At that point, a lot of the waistcoats lose their length. They were very, very long for most of the 18th century. And a lot of neoclassical inspiration going on, whether it is cheetahs attacking each other or jaguars. I'm not sure exactly what they are. But again, this might be another piece that was possibly embroidered in China for the Western market. Yeah, it's probably safe to say that the most common surviving 18th century garment is an embroidered waistcoat. And there are so many of them. I venture to say several hundred in our collection here.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it's not unusual in most collections across the globe to find them.
They're on eBay all the time.
yeah.
Why are there so many?
Extremely popular. It's an easy way to dress up a man's suit, an easy way to
Got
dress
it.
down a man's suit.
And you can't really use it for anything else after this state. Like that's
Yeah.
a
That's it.
small section of fabric, so you can't cut it apart for something else.
So you get-
Oh,
Yeah, and they're pretty.
I mean, but could you imagine though going into like a meeting, like a business meeting, and you're like, I really hate this guy, and you want to send a message?
I didn't realize the jaguars were biting the other jaguar's butt. I didn't pick
It's very aggressive.
Yeah. There are even, I can't tell if those lines are supposed to be teeth or if they're just kind of like exclamation marks, like, it's a bite.
I always interpret those as teeth.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they got some funky teeth.
they got some TVs. With that was the end of our time with Sophia. I just want to say, like, a huge thank you to Colonial Williamsburg and to Neil Hurst for being so open and accommodating for us to get in and film. I just really, really want to give a huge, huge thank you to Neil. And right here, guys, you and me, we need Neil to write a book. Neil is also a trained 18th century tailor. Neil is also a maker. Neil, up there, has so much information. And what we need Neil to do for people like me who don't know anything about men's clothes is we need Neil to write a book, specifically using the clothing at the Colonial Williamsburg collection. And so if you will agree with me on this, and I know you do, leave a comment below. And with that, my friends, I also want to give a huge thank you to Nicole and to Sophia and Tyler for being so awesome. It was super great meeting Sophia and Tyler, and I can't wait for you guys to see the other videos that come out from our time together at Colonial Williamsburg. I love you guys. I'll see you all back here next time. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And with that, have a good one. Bye.
What's the 18th century version of a bachelorette party? Staycation.
A lot of.
That was really stupid.
That was good.
I don't even know if I'm in frame.